I don't really care who may be put off by the message because that's their problem, not my problem. That's our problem as women. We need to be talking about these things with each other. Welcome to Casa de Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. Hashtag handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence. This is Dan.
And this is Julie. And by the way, I heard myself in my ears and it sounded good.
Sounds so much better, right?
I guess I should listen to you, Daniel Collins.
Well, you all heard that, right? Out in, we're on Facebook Live while we're recording this.
And everyone on Facebook
just
Live will
remember this. Put a comment down there about how Julie said that she should listen to me more. But you know what? You know what, Julie? Okay.
Yes, Daniel.
I should listen to you more too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you should listen to me more.
See, I knew you were going to say that, so I preempted it.
You preempted it? Oh, my God. You really should listen to me all the time. I have the wisdom for a wife.
Yeah, the wisdom. Yeah, the wisdom of a business coach, too. Oh, my gosh, Julie.
What, Daniel?
Where'd that quote come from?
That quote is from Stephanie Berman, today's guest on the Casa de Confidence podcast.
Mm.
And I have to tell you that I am incredibly impressed by her, especially because someone like me who underwent a lot of gynecological pain her whole life. And it was something that, kept me from school. Now, here is a statistic. 40% of women will have complex gynecologic conditions in their lifetime.
Mm.
And we don't talk about this enough. We don't share with people what is going on. And a lot of times we suffer in silence because we think, well, this is just my lot in life. And a lot of times the response that we get from, our caretakers are, take some Midol. And that's not the answer when you're having complex gynecological, conditions. And we're going to talk more about this with Stephanie. And you need to be able to find the right doctor that are trained under these conditions, such as a spasm pelvic floor muscles, a pinch pelvic nerves, dermatologic issues, and painful,
this is the thing. I think a lot of people and a lot of women, I know my mom was one of them. My mom tolerated a lot of pain. And a lot of women will just go, well, that's part of life. And you should really be willing to talk about that. And if you're not feeling right, you should really address that. Be able to talk to a doctor or talk to your spouse. And that's important.
And here's the thing that I love about our guest today, Dan, is that Stephanie, she really was undergoing this complex pain, and she had a lot of hurdles to go through. And not only did she fix them for herself, but she is now fixing them for others. And I'm not just telling you what you should do. She is telling you, showing you, and paying for it. So it's very important. This episode is really, if it's not you, it's the friend that's with you.
And
it's the friend that you saw earlier for coffee, or you're going to have a glass of wine later. You don't know what we're going through because we don't talk about this. And there are solutions, there are hurdles that can be overcome as long as we are truly informed. And you know me, I love information.
Yes, you do. That's good. So
remember when I told you you weren't informed?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, when Dan and I first met and we weren't dating.
Yeah, I wasn't informed with the same information We had contrary views on something.
We
And
had
you
we
called me
had
misinformed.
we had contrary views
Mhm.
in the spectrum of ideologies. Would you
Yes.
call it that?
That
Yes,
was the
and
age. That was a lifetime ago
in sync.
before we were a couple.
Yeah, we weren't in.
Stephanie Berman is the founder of Aziza Project, Hope for Gynecological Pain.
And the Aziza Project is a non-for-profit that Stephanie started. You know, her vision is to be able to improve the quality of life for everyone that is suffering from this kind of pain. And her focus is on specifically offering hope. Now, her mission is that she seeks to act as a bridge between patients suffering from gynecological pain and medical professionals.
Mm.
By focusing on funding and awareness, they provide help and hope. I love that. And I've talked about the Aziza Project before. I talked about it during Giving Tuesday because I felt that people are always looking for different organizations to be able to contribute to. And this is another one that is very a grassroots effect, but it's making a huge impact. You know, the Aziza Project also has a butterfly as their symbol, which is a symbol of hope.
Can you say
They
butterfly again?
what?
Say butterfly again.
Butterfly?
You
What was that about?
said a Brooklyn style.
Butterfly.
I hold on. I want to
Listen, you can't
impress.
take the girl out of New York.
I want to impress everybody.
Okay, you do that.
Mariposa.
Oh, mariposa.
That's in Espanol.
You said mariposa. It's mariposa.
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 I was close. All right.
Yeah. Did you
So,
Google that?
sorry. I just sidewinded
Or
us here.
did you know that? Or did you have to Google that?
No, I know Mariposa. I remember
Oh.
things from time to time.
Oh. Did you remember to do the laundry too?
Oh. So, Julie, what's this? What is you were just talking about the imagery of the butterfly. Tell us about that and how it relates to Stephanie's story.
Well, the butterfly represents hope. And it's also because, like a butterfly emerges from a cocoon, there is hope. Stop laughing at me. For the love of God. Okay. Look, Amanda Blakesley is texting me. I
She
wonder if
texted
she's
me
watching
also.
this. What did she say?
She's reminding us about corned beef and cabbage.
Oh my God. Amanda Blakesley. We are so excited for corned beef and cabbage. I'm going to send her a text. Yes, we are talking about you on the podcast on Facebook right now. Go watch it.
In 13 days.
In 13 days, we are going to celebrate our 12th anniversary at Amanda Blakesley House. The
Well,
incredible.
we're going there for St. Patrick's Day, but it just happens to be our anniversary.
Listen,
But
she's making corned beef and cabbage for us.
It's actually on the 16th, though. It's a day early.
Okay, well, to celebrate our anniversary, oh my God, she makes the best, and I am not lying to you. And if you've served this to me and I've said it's good, it's probably good. But I'm sorry, I have to tell you,
It's not Amanda good.
Not Stephanie, Amanda's corned beef. I was going to say cornflakes. Corned beef is out of this world. And by the way, she has a gym. She is a phenomenal personal trainer. She's a phenomenal friend. But if she was to open a freaking restaurant, holy camazel, I'm there. What are you laughing at?
It's true. And I'm sure if Amanda made cornflakes, her cornflakes would be better too.
Hey, by the way, don't forget, people, we are boycotting Kellogg. And if you don't know why, go Google it on the interwebs and they'll tell you why.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You said we, but I don't know this story. So,
well, the story is that the CEO from, I was going to say the CEO of Cornflakes, the CEO of Kellogg said that people should have breakfast for dinner since they were struggling to buy groceries, and that everybody should just buy breakfast for dinner because it was better. And you know, the reality is that a box of cornflakes or of a cereal is almost $8. And, you know, I am all for breakfast for dinner, by the way. I don't necessarily like cereal because I don't like milk, but that's another story.
That's why you're boycotting, because you don't like cereal anyway.
No, but I mean, there's a whole movement to boycott cornflakes. I mean, cereal. So just go listen to the things. Go do your own research. Don't let me tell you why you should or shouldn't. That's on your own. But Daniel,
Yes.
okay, let's regroup. Why am I in Florida?
Why are you in Florida? Because it's warmer? Actually, Julie's in Florida. She's actually there. She was there for an event for the Building a Boss Summit.
Ooh, yes. I went to help to build bosses in Florida. The event was held
Did I get the
here
name
at
right?
You did.
Oh,
Good
okay.
job. So, if you listen to the podcast, or you're going to need to go listen to this incredible interview with Lindsay and with Hillary Gatsby, and some of my two favorite women that I'm in love with them. They really are fantastic. Lindsay is the founder of Leo and Lane, which is a marketing company. And by the way, I want to hire them, Dan. They
Mm,
need to be our marketing company. Amazing. We're going to go through a whole rebrand with them, I think,
mm,
because, and this is in the future, because they are females. They get us. Just go check them out. And Hillary Gatsby, it's a master connector, which of course resonates with me. Hillary decided to start Boss Talks, which is a networking group that you can bring to your own city, town, state. And there is a chapter here in Tampa. And what they're doing is that each chapter gets to host a building a boss summit.
mm.
So building a boss summit Tampa. And I was one of the speakers here yesterday. Here, by the way, hold on. Let me see if you can see it. See, that's my little panel yesterday that I spoke at. And it was amazing. And look, I was wearing the colors of building a boss, not the colors of Casa de Confidence, and
Mm.
glitter and goals. Okay, go check out my Instagram stories or my Facebook stories, and you can actually see those as well. We had a blast, by the way, and I got to meet the incredible Cheval. If you don't know who Cheval is, you probably do know, and she's going to come to the show and share her entire story. But if you've watched, say, YES to the DRESS,
Mm.
you probably know who she is. What are you doing?
I I'm fixing something.
Oh my God. Okay. So Cheval, it's not her real name, and she cannot use her real name
Right.
because the former company that she was designing bridal gowns for stole her name and basically said, no, you don't,
Hmm.
not going to work with us. You can't have your name back. And she does, and that's her God-given birth name, and she can't use it. And she is precluded from also being able to design bridal gowns,
Hmm.
and she is, yeah. So anyway, so stay tuned for that story. Cheval was incredibly inspirational, and the reason I want to talk a little bit about Cheval while we're talking about Stephanie is because Cheval saw an issue as a young woman. She signed her rights away. She didn't have legal counsel. She didn't have someone to review that agreement. And now she is living the consequences. And by the way, she has made a lot of lemonade out of her lemons, and
Mm.
it's incredible work. She is now designing shoes. So that girl Cheval is who you want to go ahead and follow. But Cheval founded a non-for-profit as well because she said, hey, I had this problem. I was struggling with this, and I don't want any young women to go through this garbage also. So she founded a non-for-profit. So just like Stephanie, right? You have a problem, you have an issue, and you are fixing it for yourself, you're doing the work. Let's come back and send the elevator back down for the people who are in the ground floor of this
Mm-hmm.
problem, of this issue, and let's bring them up. And this is one of the things that I love these women. This is one of the reasons I do this show, is because I want you to find these incredible women, and you too can be that incredible woman that says, I am going through something. I can do it. Let me do the work. Let me get past this. Let me figure it out. And then I will help somebody else figure this out. You can be inspired. And if somebody else did the work, you too can do it. We sit around and we think, oh my gosh, I could never be. Look at that person. Look at that wonderful person doing it. Listen, we are all the same. The only thing that separates us is the people who accomplish stuff, is the people that keep going, the
Mm,
people that get up when they fall, the people that got knocked down and said, enough. I want more. And this is important. And by the way, I of course had a moment this week. We had a big brouhaha happened, and I can't talk about it on Facebook. Um, but a big brouhaha that made me question, why am I doing this? Like, are you kidding me? Like, and I felt like turning, throwing in the towel, like, screw this. I'm gonna go get a job and call it a day. Because just when we think like we're heading into like a little um peak, like shit happens and it knocks you down. And I was a wreck. And of course I wasn't going to throw it in the towel. But in that moment I was just so devastated and I was
doesn't
crying.
it doesn't
And
mean you don't have those thoughts though.
it doesn't mean that I don't have those thoughts.
I
And
knew you were
here's,
I knew you were good, but it doesn't
I
mean
know.
you don't have those thoughts. And it's important to recognize that
And
you may
listen,
have had those thoughts, and
and
that's a good
if the situation if the situation doesn't get better, if this is not resolved to our benefit, Daniel,
thing. Hmm.
I okay, it's just money. And you know what?
Mm.
Money, if we have our health, we have each other, we have friends. And this is the thing. Friends have come alongside of me. I had specifically two of my friends, right? Two of my incredible women friends, not to mention Pearl, not to mention her husband Chuck, not to mention, you know, even my sister Georgie. She made a wonderful gesture. And but my friend Dawn and my friend Melissa, they said, "What do you need? What do you need? Just I'll do it. Here it is. I will. I will wire you with Western Union." And you know, we need to be able to have the whereabouts in which we get ourselves back up. But it's easier to get back up when we create connection and community and we have people come alongside of us. And this is why the Casa de Confidence is a place where I want you to know that you have me, you have Dan, you have us, you have the people in this incredible community that can come alongside of you and remind you that they will give you a hand up and remind you that, by the way, you can get up again. You can keep going. And things are rough. They're not going to be easy. But look back to every single thing you have done. Look back to the person that you've been and realize that every single thing you went through made you who you are today. And then I want you to look forward, and I want you to look forward to everything that you want in your life. And I want you to picture all of these wonderful dreams and things you've accomplished and places you've been and the people that you've impacted. And I want you to grab that person from the forward days and bring them here to the present moment, and grab the person who you were and bring them here to the perfect moment, and get yourself back up, because you can do it. And it's got to take you taking the first step to keep moving forward. And that's what going confidently means. And that is what we all need to do when we're facing the inequity, when we're facing the trials, when we're facing the self-doubt. And the reality is that that's how we lift up. And now I'm being told to carry it on and wrap it up and whatever. Okay, Daniel, your turn.
What? When I do the wrap up signal, you're supposed to
Yeah.
not like
Oh,
recognize it. You're supposed to just go with
okay. Well, I'm sorry. I haven't had any coffee this morning. Okay.
it. So that's an incredible message. But you know what? We need to get on to our guest.
We do need to get on to our
But
guest.
I'd like to also extend that. I mean, we're here for you and
Yeah.
for whoever needs it. And
And I want people to not only go and check out Stephanie, the incredible work that she is doing. go and give her a like, give her a follow. If you are not in a position to be able to donate and help other women as she is doing it, then share her stuff, because that is what gets the word out. And that's going to make the impact in somebody's life, from someone that, again, had lived with so much pain in her female parts for many years. I know that if somebody doesn't have to go through that, it's important.
All right. So you know what? It's time for the interview. I hope you enjoy this and get wonderful, great things out of it. I'm sure you're going to. Here's Julie and Stephanie Berman.
Welcome back, my friends. I'm happy that you are joining us for another episode of Casa de Confidence. Today with me, I have a really crucial conversation that I have been looking forward to you learning about our next guest and what she's been up to. For more than 13 years, Stephanie suffered with multiple gynecologic pain generators, 11 medical practitioners, from naturopath, general practitioners, OBGYNs, dermatologists, and physical therapists were unable to provide her the answers, much less relief. That all changed when she met Dr. Corey Babb at the Haven Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Not only is she feeling better, she has better than she has in years, but more importantly, she has hope for a full and rewarding life without pain. That's why Stephanie started the Aziza Project. She wants to offer other women the same hope by connecting with them, with the medical professionals, and funding their travel to procedures and expenses. Incredibly honored that you are here with us. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Julie. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, when I met you and we started to discuss a little bit of your story, I really was intrigued, because I think that it's probably not unique, but again, it's not necessarily something that we often hear or talk about in our world. So could you just walk us through your personal journey, your personal story? Because again, I said that you were in pain and you went to a lot of doctors before you found relief, but walk us through this journey.
Yeah. So my journey started probably shortly after we got married, depending on which pelvic pain generator we're talking about. Like I said, I think I had about 4 or 5 once you break them all down into their individual parts. And then it just kept building from there. And it got to a point in, I would say 2011 was when it really got bad. And we were like, okay, we need to start figuring some of this out to see if we can figure out, get some relief. And we started we started with our family doctor, and he didn't know what to do. So he sent me to a local OBGYN who didn't know what to do. So he sent me to the vulvar pain clinic at the university hospital in our state. And in between there, I saw, naturopaths and pelvic floor physical therapists. And yeah, it all ended up, adding up. I think in a chiropractor or two, there were, like I said, about 10 providers in those really early years. And then in 2018, my endometriosis pain kind of took over. And I looked at my husband and I said, hey, if we don't take care of this, I'm going to be like stuck on the couch 24/7 soon.
Wow.
And and don't be surprised if I start crying. Hey, I'm already crying. Okay, we're good.
No, this is a safe space. And thank you so much for sharing this journey, because it is, you talk about how 40% of women will have a complex gynecologic condition in their lifetime. So it's important that we bring this to light and discuss it.
Yeah. And I will say, of those 40%, it's likely that some of them will have more than one, like I did, because the pelvic floor basically affects everything, and nobody's talking about the pelvic floor. So we need to be talking about our pelvic floors a lot more. Anyway, back to my story. So I ended up, I found a endometriosis excision specialist. You basically get in there and you have to cut out the endometriosis by the roots in order to get rid of it. Hormones won't do it. It's just a Band-Aid. That's the usual go-to. But the gold standard for endometriosis is excision and going in and actually cutting it out. But there's very few doctors who are actually trained in what abnormal endometriosis looks like and how to get it out properly.
Wow.
So it doesn't recur. And there's, even among like the really great surgeons, there's still a 20% recurrence rate.
Wow.
So
that's pretty big.
Yeah, it is. But when you think about how many women have endometriosis, it's still better to get it excised the first time, and there's an 80% chance it won't recur. So, so I ended up with a hysterectomy in 2020, and after that, they sent all the tissue they pulled out to pathology, and it turned out I had endometriosis, adenomyosis, and endosalpingiosis. I'd never heard of that last one.
No, and by the way, it's new to me, so I am going to count on you to educate us a little bit about the differences of these conditions.
Yeah, so I'll do my best. Endometriosis is probably the most common one, and that's generally understood to be uterine lining tissue where it should be. And then you've got the adenomyosis, which is when that tissue kind of burrows into the uterine wall and it's not found outside of the uterus. And then you have endosalpingiosis. If I'm even saying that right, I have no idea. That one is fallopian tube tissue in places it shouldn't be.
Wow.
So
I could see how you had some incredible pain and discomfort if you had these three conditions.
Yes. And I would say that my pain wasn't even, I heard horror stories of women who were, bedridden for like 2 weeks every cycle, or, so nauseous they're throwing up from the pain. And mine was never that bad, but it was still bad enough that it was negatively impacting my ability to earn money for our family budget. And that was a big deal for us at the time. I mean, it still is, but especially in 2018, 2019, 2020, for where we were at the time. And after that, I had some other vulvar symptoms that we hadn't been able to pin down yet. And the nurse practitioner for my endometriosis surgeon said, hey, it might be lichen sclerosis, which is a dermatological vulvar condition. And so you should probably find a dermatologist and get that looked at. So I finally found a dermatologist the following spring. This is 2021. And I went to see her and she's like, oh, I've seen this before. It's lichen sclerosis. We're going to do this, and this, and you'll be fine because I have 3 other patients I'm treating the same way and they're doing great. So I'm like, okay, I guess maybe she does know what she's talking about.
Okay.
Again, my first appointment with her. Go back to see her 6 weeks later. She puts me on this medication that she said, oh, I have 3 other patients on this off-label medication. They're doing great. Everything will be fine. And then I stay on that medication for 6 months, go back to see her and get medically gaslit. She was so angry that I had stopped using medications that she said that I had failed. Now, when I hear that I failed a medication, that means I can stop using it. I don't know about you, but that's where my mind went. So I stopped using these medications. She's like, no. You were supposed to use that medication and this new really expensive specialty medication that you have been using. I'm like, you didn't tell me that. And so I was like, I left her office in tears and I'm like, I'm never going back. And I didn't. Although I did manage to stay on that specialty medication until the fall. But what happened in the intervening time was that I found a gal on Instagram, of all places, who was kind of the biggest social media influencer for lichen sclerosis. And she was interviewing Dr. Babb. You mentioned him earlier in my bio. He practices out of Tulsa in his private practice, Haven Center. And found him through her on Instagram, started following him, realized how much he knew about female pelvic anatomy and conditions that could affect it. And he was like talking about stuff I'd never heard of. And one of them is pudendal neuralgia, which is an irritated nerve in your pelvis, basically.
Wow.
I'm like, that sounds like what I have. And I probably bumped into Dr. Babb in like June or July of 2022. And then by August, I had reached out to him on Instagram. By September, I had scheduled a consultation with him. And then the morning of that consultation, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning thinking, how did I get so blessed to be able to consult with a practitioner of this caliber? Because he doesn't take insurance, so it's expensive to see him.
Wow. Yeah.
And how can I help women who don't have the financial means that I do to be able to afford care of this caliber? And how can we do it not in our estate planning when we're dead and gone, but now, so I can see the results of it? And that's when the idea for the Aziza Project was born, out of my own journey and finding a practitioner who listened to me later that day. 4 hours after I woke up was my appointment with Dr. Babb. And I just sat on the couch afterwards, because it was a virtual conversation. And I just was like, I looked at my husband, I'm like, that was the best doctor's appointment I've ever had, bar none. And he didn't even touch me.
Wow. And again, it's so fortuitous, right? That and this is why it's important to be able to share about our journeys, because what you were going through for so many years, a lot of doctors seem to have a handle on some of the treatment, but not the type of treatment that was really addressing some of your issues.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah. And I think that, there's very complex issues that we don't talk about. So this is one of the reasons I want to have this open forum in which we discuss your journey. Number one, because we have to, I am a big proponent that we are the best advocates for our health. And many people go to a doctor, they get a pill, and then they're like, I don't feel better, but they keep suffering in silence. And really, receiving care is important for quality of life, for our mental health. Because again, when we are in pain and we can't, function, and by the way, I had excruciating periods when I had periods. And I was out of commission for at least a day or so. It was so awful. And sometimes you would take pain medication and I wouldn't even touch it. And I think that, that's not a way to live. And I think that we don't look for solutions, or we don't understand that there's different things that we can do so that, we can live without the acceptance of pain, but we can learn to manage it. And also in some ways, after treatment, eradicate it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's part of what I was able to do with Dr. Babb's help. Is after that consultation, we basically decided, hey, we're going to go to Tulsa. We're going to get this figured out. Because he in that conversation where, it was just virtual, he was listening to my symptoms. He was like, yeah, this isn't like in sclerosis. This sounds like a nerve issue. So come to Tulsa. We'll do a nerve block and see what happens. And he likes to say that medicine is more of an art than a science. So you kind of try things and see what works and what doesn't. So we flew to Tulsa in January, and I had a nerve block and pelvic floor Botox. And then following that, I had the best 5 days I'd had in a decade. It was amazing. Yeah.
Wow. And that's crazy to me.
Yeah. And that was the nerve block, numbing that nerve that was causing me so much pain. And my pelvic floor felt better from that until about April. And then I started sliding downhill again. And then we went back to Tulsa in October for another round of pelvic floor Botox. And then this time he did a nerve block with a steroid in it to try to get me a little bit longer relief. And I think the combination is actually working pretty good. We have one more symptom that we're still trying to track down. I finally broke down, made an appointment with the local urgent care doctor to see if I could get some help. But if that doesn't work, we're planning on going 4.5 hours to see a friend of Dr. Babb's to see if she. So all that to say, it was in the midst of this journey that I, again, came up with the idea for the Aziza Project. And it was when we were in Tulsa the first time in January. I was laying on the bed. I was recovering from the anesthesia from that morning's procedure, and I realized I could snap my fingers and start a nonprofit.
I
So
love that, you took your the phrase goes, we turned our mess into our message, and that's exactly what you have done here, Stephanie. The Aziza Project, you've named it after a butterfly. Tell me more about that.
yeah, so actually the butterfly is named after the Aziza
Okay,
Project.
got it. All right. Okay, so I got it wrong, but I'm glad you're correcting me. Go ahead.
It's okay. Yeah, the butterfly's name is Aziza because the word Aziza means beloved, precious, and mighty. And
Beautiful.
yeah, I want women who are suffering from these complex gynecological issues to know that they are beloved, they're precious, and they're mighty, even though they don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
because that's the realization I had to come to when I was, going through this experience of pain, was that I had to find my voice. And
Yeah.
I love the picture of the butterfly, because a lot of organizations who deal with vulvar issues
Mhm.
use a butterfly because you can kind of see the outline
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Um, and yet it also reminds me of the journey that we have to take.
Yeah.
um we feel like we're like caterpillars, like we're like these little ugly creatures that nobody really cares about.
Oh,
Then
Stephanie.
we find help, and it's like going through this process of transforming. And if you had met me like a year ago, I would not have the confidence I have now in sharing my story or anything like that. So
Mm,
I do feel like I've gone through a bit of a caterpillar to a butterfly experience, um as I've, gotten more comfortable in my own skin. I feel better,
yeah.
a lot of the time. Um, and so it's been easier to tell my story. And I finally got to the point where I was sick of being in pain and not being able to talk about it. And I'm like, that's it. I
Mhm.
don't even care who I don't want to use the word offend, but because I'm not
No.
trying to offend anybody, but I don't really care who's maybe put off by the message,
Mhm.
because that's their problem. That's not my problem. That's not our problem as women. We need to be talking about these things with each other, and even
Mhm.
in mixed company. Like some of the Aziza's best supporters are men, and it's
Mhm.
great. I love having the support of men who are recognizing, hey, women deserve quality
Mhm.
medical care too.
Yeah. I think that, this is again where education is incredibly important, and really, thank you for sharing your story. I think it is incredibly courageous of you. And by the way, excuse me, not only are you courageous, but you are someone who is creating that ripple effect to others, because you know how difficult, our brain goes into all kinds of different directions making up stories about what does it mean about me that I'm dealing with this, right? But
Yeah,
you're helping others normalize that you're not alone, and that
yeah,
there is a path that you can take. Your organization helps to not only connect women going through some of these issues and painful things, but you're helping them connect with the right resources, and you're also helping them fund their travel, because if there's not an expert in their area, there's got to be a way for us to travel to get the medical care that we need.
exactly. So the Aziza Project, let me just give you a little spiel about how
Yeah,
the Aziza Project handles our funding.
absolutely.
So the first thing we do is, right now we're only working with Dr. Babb in Tulsa. I do
Mhm.
plan on adding more practitioners. I'd love to have somebody on the West Coast, somebody on the East Coast. He's right in the middle in Tulsa.
Right.
And so we need somebody on the other side of the country who has the time and talent to handle these conditions. And so the first thing we'll do is we'll cover the virtual consultation, like what I had when my
Mhm.
first conversation with Dr. Babb. During that conversation, he can't diagnose, treat, or prescribe, but he can give ideas and offer,
Mhm.
potential, like, hey, have you considered this? What about that?
Right.
That the patient can then take to their local provider to
Mhm.
hopefully get tests run or something
Right.
without having to go to Tulsa.
Right.
But if he says, oh my goodness, yes, she needs to come to Tulsa, like he did before my consultation, he
Mhm.
told his wife, who was his receptionist at the time, that yes, she needs to come to Tulsa. When I sent him a 4-page, 10-point font timeline of everything I'd been through.
Wow.
So that was his reaction. So that's what the Aziza Project is listening to during, not during, because we don't sit in on these virtual consultations unless we're asked. But as a result of these virtual consultations, if it's decided, yeah, this patient needs to go to Tulsa, then the next thing we will cover is their travel expenses to get to and stay in Tulsa, airfare and hotel. Because in my day job, I'm a money coach and I don't like anybody go into debt. So, and oftentimes these women are in so much pain, they haven't been working for years.
Yeah.
And we will also pay for travel and airfare for a companion to go with them because they may be facing a surgical procedure where they can't be alone after. So they have somebody with them, but I don't want that to go on a credit card either. Then the next thing we'll cover is Dr. Babb's fees because he's out of network. He doesn't take insurance at all. So it's more expensive for the patient to see him, but that's because he's chosen not to take insurance so that he can spend an hour with every patient he sees.
Right. And I think that this is the one thing that I wish we definitely changed in our medical system. And, we can get here and pontificate so many different things that we should or shouldn't have. And then, but I love having a doctor that will spend as much time as needed talking to me. Yes. Answering my questions, discussing, and really not rushing me out. I have a couple friends that are doctors, and they work for large organizations, and that's one of the things that they struggle with. They have 15 minutes, and then they have to have 5 minutes between appointments to just write notes. And how comprehensive can you get in writing your notes? And it becomes this sort of like factory style. And yes, there's so many different things that, to consider, but I love that Dr. Babb is really making care available, right? In creating this way for people to access health without having an insurance say, no, you don't need that, or that's not covered.
Yeah, exactly. So we covered his fees. And then the last kind of bottom tier, if we still have funding left that we can help the patient with, the last tier that we help with would be those in-network insurance things, like their patient portion after their copay or whatever. So that way the Aziza Project dollars go as far as possible. We'll also, as we add more providers, we're going to tell the patients that we will cover up to a certain amount. So we're not going to dictate to the doctors what they can charge, but we'll tell the patients we'll cover up to a certain amount for each kind of service. We'll like a menu of, oh, this is the procedure you're having. This is how much we'll cover. And then it's up to them. Do they want to go see the doctor who's charging more than that? Do they want to go find an Aziza doctor who's charging that amount?
Right.
So,
well, this is amazing. And, from following you on Instagram, I know that you do a lot of fundraising. Tell me a little bit about how you go about fundraising so that you can support these women and cover their expenses.
Yeah. So fundraising up till now, because we only just opened in January, up till now, it's been a lot of asking my friends and family for help. And I've been doing a lot of podcasts this fall, a lot of interviews and talking with people and just saying, hey, we are out here and trying to increase visibility, driving people to our website to go check out, we have a couple of patient stories there from patients that we've helped already. And the best thing you can do is to donate because this is a big lift. And I'll give you a little preview of our Giving Tuesday ask. I know we want to probably keep this evergreen, but just in case. And this is really a goal that we have for 2024 is to raise at least $20,000. $20,000 will allow us to help more than one woman in 2024. Just to get, I don't know that all $20,000 will go this direction, but just as an example of what we can do with $20,000 is there's a $5,000 procedure that Dr. Babb is one of 4 providers in the entire world that's trained to do.
Wow.
And it has a 90% cure rate for a condition called vaginismus, which is basically where the muscles at the entrance to the vagina slam shut in anticipation of pain.
Wow.
And there's 5 different grades of vaginismus. And as the grades go up, it gets worse. And as the vaginismus grade gets worse, the provider can actually literally see the muscles spasming shut. And
Wow.
and so that just for Dr. Babb's fees, it's $5,000. And
Mm-hmm.
in order to be able to cover that, we got to get them to Tulsa,
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
his fees, and we've got we've got administrative fees ourselves, and we have to cover those. We can't just say 100% of the dollars
Right.
goes to the patient, because we're not that type of organization.
Right.
I'd love if we were, but we just can't. So $20,000, that allows us to sponsor 2 women for this procedure, so that they
Mm-hmm.
can do things like insert a tampon,
Right.
or consummate their marriage so they can build a family. Because
Right.
if you can't have intercourse, it's a lot more difficult to start a family. And if that's a woman's dream, and if vaginismus is stopping her, we want to help give her that gift of having a
Yeah.
family.
And I think that, outside of just the family aspect, physical intimacy is such an important part of marriage and relationship that, and I am sure that there are so many different psychological factors that go into not being able to have a normal relation. If there's anything like normal, there's no normal. I want to say that, but what a better relationship than you currently have if you're suffering from vaginismus. Did I say this correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, good job.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot that goes into, when you're suffering from vaginismus. It's a self-esteem killer. It's not helpful for a relationship. It can be a huge drain on a relationship too.
Right.
And so, like, I've heard stories of, women who can't have intercourse and their husbands up and leave them. And it's
Right.
like, that's not what the Aziza Project wants either. We want to help make healthy relationships. My husband's actually going to be kind of dealing with like the male side of that, and how do you support your partner as she's going through this journey, and what lies and myths are men believing
Mm-hmm.
right now that are causing them to not support their spouses,
Right.
so that they can overcome those myths and false beliefs, so that they can get to a point of realizing, oh yeah, I do want her to get this help she needs. And yeah, if it costs 10 grand, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And, for some people, whatever it takes is reaching out to the Aziza Project for financial help. Some people
Yeah.
will be able to afford that on their own. And, I'm hoping that we can help both sides of those equations, whether it's helping a couple financially and emotionally, whether that's, connecting this other couple who can afford the treatment on their own to the resources they need to get that help.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think that, the other piece of the puzzle here is that if, what I noticed in Dr. Babb's Instagram, and I'm following him, that this is not something that is unique to women in childbearing years. He works with women at all parts of the spectrum, whether there are just young women, maybe even teens, all the way up to women in menopause and beyond, because this continues to be something that is not just during this childbearing years that people struggle with this.
Yeah, absolutely. He is a nationally certified menopause practitioner. So he sees women from, very young to older, seniors, elderly. And yeah, it doesn't matter where they are in life. He legitimately wants to help. We legitimately want to help.
Yeah.
If you're in pain and it's gynecological in nature, please reach out to us and we'll do what we can to help.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you're sharing this story. Now, you talked about wanting to raise $20,000. That's your goal for 2024. But what other things do you envision being able to do with your organization? And what is your big dream, your big ask, your big audacious goal that you would like to see?
Yeah, my big audacious goal would be eventually to have about a $12,000 a month budget, so $120,000 a year.
Amazing.
Because I think that is when we can start doing things. That means that we can sponsor this procedure I was talking about. It's called the PASIC Multimodal Botox Protocol for Vaginismus. Be able to sponsor at least one of those a month. Then we'll also be able to start our scholarship fund for medical students who want to go into complex gynecological care. And
Wonderful.
yeah, because here's the thing, like I live in southeastern Washington state. I had to travel to Tulsa, Oklahoma to see a specialist.
Wow.
To get answers. That shouldn't have to happen. We should have vulval vaginal specialists in every metropolitan area in the US. And it'd be lovely to have some in some small towns too, but they probably wouldn't have enough of a practice to be able to sustain themselves there. But I would love for every woman in the US to be within 4 hours of a vulval vaginal specialist.
Yeah.
If I'm being really, really bold.
That would be incredible, because again, there's so many answers and questions and things that are not connecting for many of us, right? I think that, the one thing that it's so important to be able to educate yourself, but also find the right resources that are going to help you through all of this. And the more that, people suffer in silence. People spend a lot of their time thinking that they are the only one who this is happening to. And I want to really be able to touch on that we are stronger in getting this done together, in talking about it. And, again, you have a great connection with Dr. Babb, but also you're creating a ripple effect in which there's going to be other people that will be able to help others in this realm. I love that.
Yeah. So eventually I would love to add more providers. I keep telling people I've got some things that we need to do on our end in order to successfully integrate another provider, 2 or 3 or 10. So before we can do that, I've got to get these other things done. And again, that will allow us to serve more patients. That will allow us to not have to fly people halfway across the country.
Right.
And some of the things that I'm looking at as I think about, what are my expectations for providers who are Aziza affiliated? And it's things like making sure that they have trauma-informed care training.
Amazing.
So many patients who have gone through gynecological pain know that it's easy to get gaslit by a medical provider. They say it's all in your head, or they look at your husband and say, be gentle, and send you right out the door. They say, drink some wine, and none of that none of that actually fixes the problem. So we need to make sure that we're sending our patients to providers who know what they're doing, who are aware of patient autonomy, and letting the patient, educating the patient on their options, and then letting the patient make the decision. And so, yeah.
No, I mean, this is incredible. I am so in awe of the work that you're doing. I have to say, I've had my share of issues, not as extreme as yours, but I think that for me, again, I had incredibly, terrible periods. I had fibroids. I suffered, just since an early age, I was out of commission when I had my period. And, finally I did have a hysterectomy, and it changed my life to be able to live a normal life without, being out of commission for a couple of days out of the month, because you're either bleeding too much or the pain is excruciating. And I think people, we need to get to a point in which we talk about this and normalize it. This is just a part of life, and, bring awareness to this so that, the mental health and well-being of women, in addition to their physical health, is something that it's also taken care of. And by the way, I had an injury in my pelvic floor, and it took me almost a year to heal from that. And it was not fun at all. And the doctors really didn't know what to do. But it really I had to really advocate for myself. And it's something that I encourage individuals to really take into their own hands. And you're creating a great avenue. You have some resources, you have information, you're helping others again, go and find a path, just like you did for yourself. You didn't give up. You became your best advocate. Stephanie, give us the ask. Where do people donate? how do people get in touch with you? What resources can they get a hold of that can help either them or their friends, right? Because if it's not us, we have a friend that is in this boat right now. So give us that info.
Yeah. If it's not you, you've got probably 4 friends that are in that boat. So we do need help. And so as far as the Aziza Project goes and how people can help us and help themselves, our website, there's a donate button right at the top. I don't remember if it's purple or green right now.
It's purple, and when you hover over it, turns green.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, there's a donate button right there. It'll take you to the page on our website where the link is where you can donate, I believe is what happens. And then also there we are looking for monthly sponsors. So if you're a business owner and you're listening to this podcast, I'm looking for businesses to come alongside us and sponsor the Aziza Project for a certain amount each month, and we'll do social media shout outs and stuff like that for you throughout the year, depending on what level sponsorship you choose, and all of that goes to helping us help more patients. And if you or somebody is dealing with this type of pain, there is a contact form on the website as well. There's even a button on the front page where it says schedule with Stephanie. You might have to scroll down a little bit to find it, but you can schedule a one-on-one conversation with me and we can kind of talk about your symptoms. And I am not a medical professional. This is not medical advice. I cannot offer any medical advice, but what I can do is kind of listen and say, based on my story, this sounds like it could be endometriosis. Here's some resources for that. Or, oh, your symptoms are all vulvar. Well, let's get on the phone and let's call Dr. Babb's office and see if it's helping. And then I've got, like I mentioned, lichen sclerosis earlier. I've got a few friends in that nonprofit realm. The Lichen Sclerosis Support Network is a fantastic organization that's helping educate women specifically on that condition. And I can connect people that way if they're like, oh my goodness, my doctor just diagnosed me with lichen sclerosis. I have no idea what this is or what I'm doing.
Great.
So, yeah.
What an incredible wealth of information. The other thing that I want to encourage others that are listening, because I know, from working with different nonprofit organizations and entities that do this kind of work, you want to go ahead and maybe you have some skills when it comes to grant writing, fundraising, social media marketing, anything that you can do to volunteer to support the Aziza Project is incredibly welcome, because Stephanie is doing everything alone and she's bringing other people alongside of her. But the more that we can create the support system, the more women will be benefiting from this type of support that is much needed. And again, I know that, we didn't even delve into the topic of underserved minorities as well, that, maybe this is another stigma that we have as well, that they're not getting the care that they need. So
that's another reason why that scholarship piece is so important, because patients do better when they see doctors that look like them. And so my dream is, let's get a African American female gynecologist who wants to treat these complex symptoms and conditions. And, let's get an Asian female gynecologist who wants to treat these complex gynecological so that we have places to send patients that see a doctor that looks like them. And I don't say that in a negative way at all. I want patients to do the best they can.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Everything that you're doing is incredible. I think that you are creating an opportunity for women to definitely take charge, take control, and be proactive in making sure that they help themselves in their health. You don't have to be a part of that 40%, right, that is suffering in silence or is lost because they don't have the right resources to deal with the complex gynecologic pain that we encounter from time to time in our lifetime. So, Stephanie, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing with the Aziza Project. And thank you again for connecting us with resources that many of us will go ahead and leverage to live a confident, happy life. I appreciate you. Will you come back and continue to build a relationship with the podcast so that we can serve others through the information you're providing?
Absolutely. Thank you
Great.
so much for having me.
You're
It's been a
welcome.
blast.
No, it's been amazing. And you're incredible. I appreciate you. And don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Thanks for listening to Casa de Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.